I've never seen anything like it. Christy, I mean, you're the real deal. How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and I'm here with Christy Greenberg from Courtside, and of course, from the world of serious legal situations. Christy, I mean, you're the real deal. I do believe that the firm you used to work for was involved in covering the Diddy case and dealing with things like that, or there's something there. But introduce yourself, Christy. Tell us about yourself, and we'll get cracking.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Christy Greenberg. I'm the host of Courtside with Christy Greenberg on YouTube, where I cover legal cases that high-profile cases that are of interest to all of you. Prior to that, I was a deputy chief of the criminal division of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. Same office that prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein, that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell, that prosecuted Sean Diddy Combs. So that's an office where a lot of high-profile sex trafficking cases are prosecuted. I both prosecuted those kinds of cases and supervised those cases. So I'm very familiar with how they work, though I had no involvement with those particular cases when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, we say cases like that. I mean, those are the cases. I mean, there aren't bigger cases than this. And it's, I'd like to talk about both of them, right? But just tell us what you feel the most common misconception is with the public and the legal system when it comes to the Diddy's and the Epsteins. Like, what do you find that is the most common sort of misconception towards how you build these cases?
Well, all of these cases are built based on victims, right? You can't prosecute a sex trafficking case without victims coming to the government and trusting the government and knowing that the government is going to do everything they can to work the case really hard and make sure that they can, find the evidence and really be in the victim's corner, advocating for victims every step of the way. That is the most important thing, the cornerstone to any of these cases. And so when you have people who are well-connected, who are powerful, who are rich, who have the lawyers who can come in and make it tough for prosecutors to gather that evidence to build their case, those cases, even though they may appear to the public to be a slam dunk based on the evidence, there are lots of ways in which very powerful lawyers can throw roadblocks in the ways of prosecutors. But it's up to the prosecutors. That's not an excuse. It's up to the prosecutors to keep fighting and to keep working really hard and making sure that any charges stick and that the evidence is solid and corroborated in many different ways. So when you have that kind of a spotlight shined on the cases you're working, it's all the more reason for prosecutors to work that much harder to make sure that the case is solid.
It's that pressure cooker factor, really, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing having bosses and superiors' eyes on you, but when half the world's eyes are on you, that pressure must be unreal. Let's talk about the Diddy case first of all, right? I mean, when Diddy initially went down, the posts and the statements made by the news about terabytes of footage and endless amounts of photos and all this kind of stuff, and it's the same with the Epstein case. Do you feel that the public should know the true extent of everything that went on in these cases? Or do you think, I don't mean airing all the footage, all this illegal, horrible trauma stuff, but do you feel like there's a repeating withholding from the public factor within these cases to protect individuals?
So with respect to the Diddy case, I was in court not every day, but most days. And so I got to see the testimony firsthand. And there is a real difference in hearing from those witnesses live and seeing them on the stand than public reporting about it after the fact. And so I think that there's a real disservice when trials are not televised and people can't make that assessment themselves. Hey, was this witness telling the truth or not? Did that strike me as being credible or not? It's one thing for me to tell you what I think, but I think everybody deserves to be able to see that for themselves. So I think in a lot of these cases, the rules in federal court in the United States are just such that those cases don't really get don't get televised. And I think they should. I think it's wrong. And I think the Diddy case and the Ghislaine Maxwell trial are perfect examples of why. I think, at least for me, being in the courtroom and hearing from those witnesses, I mean, certainly the victims, certainly the people who are talking about very, very
I actually only caught the last 20 minutes of this, and then it went on to something which I'll play as well, which is really interesting. I sent you the email with the numbers. It was amazing. Oh, you got it. See your reply. Cool. Oh, cool. I just got an email from my sister as well. I'll reply to that in a moment. So yeah, I'm going to, because I don't want to listen to all of this. So I'm going to skip to where I did here because I can listen to this later. I don't know whether it just kind of covers all this. It's been kind of gone over a lot. So it's just this bit from here.
Where people don't seem to realize it's massive.
Well, what the interesting part about that case is that was sex trafficking, one pimp of a 16-year-old girl, still minor. And that one individual who trafficked this girl, and he had a handwritten playbook, essentially how to break her spirit and to break the spirit of girls that he was working with. It was truly horrific. And so that one individual, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison after being convicted at trial. And I note that it was 20 years because that is the same sentence Ghislaine Maxwell received. So these are, we're talking the Epstein case about over 1,000 victims. I had a case with one victim, and it was such horrific conduct that was involved that the judge felt 20 years was appropriate. And the mandatory minimum in that case was 15 years, and he went above it. So again, all of these cases, even if they don't involve somebody who you've ever heard of before, when you get down to what happened and how these young girls are exploited, it is truly tragic. And you see a lot of the same things over and over again. The girls that are targeted, girls who often are isolated in some way. They may have suffered sexual abuse in their childhood before. They may have suffered from drug abuse. They're people who are easily isolated from family and from friends, defrauded into not necessarily even thinking that they were going to be involved in sex trafficking. Maybe they thought they were going to be in a relationship with their trafficker. You see a lot of the grooming of conduct with these girls, making them think certain things are okay and sex acts are okay, and that it's not the violation that it is. And they really find ways to gain the trust of the victims, and then as that one case I had shows, find ways to really break their spirit and find way or to try to break their spirit so that they won't fight back, they won't leave, they won't seek to escape. The common question you always get in these cases, well, why didn't she just leave? That is easier said than done in a lot of circumstances, especially like in my Mexican sex trafficking case, where you had a number of people, the victims whom were brought into the United States, but they were not here legally. And so they were taught to fear law enforcement, and hey, if you go to law enforcement, nobody's going to listen to you. They're going to throw you in jail for years and years and years.
Convince you that you're a criminal yourself. To convince you that you're a criminal, and if you open your mouth, you'll go down as well. You hear it all the time in Survivor. There's a word for it, by the way. There's actually it's grooming's grooming, and then this is something else. I just can't remember the correct terminology for it. And that fear that they instill in these men, women, children that are all part of this horrific cycle, I mean, they have really refined. You talked about like a manuscript on how to break these people down. I've seen the same things for children and all kinds of horrible stuff, where people don't seem to realize that if you're a fan of fishing, Christy, and you go on Facebook and join a fishing page and you talk all excitedly about fishing, that's how these people are discussing refining their skill sets in their community. And people don't believe it. I've seen it. I have witnessed arguments between two different types of child predator arguing over who is the better, more purist child predator. It's bonkers. It's bonkers. And I think these cases that don't get attention, right? I think do you think that if the public really knew the true extent of the gravity, and it wasn't just a quick flash on the news saying $100 billion industry, do you think people really understand the gravity of the human transportation industry? You think? Because I believe it's completely underreported on.
I think until you've really had the opportunity to talk to any of the victims of these kinds of horrific crimes, it is difficult to really appreciate just the magnitude of what it entails. And I think that that what we've started to see, at least in the United States, is, and I think you were making this point earlier, with respect to gang activity. Gangs often are trafficking in drugs, but we did see a shift where they would start to traffic in young girls, and that was a way for them to make money. But they, the product, as they referred to it, right, was the girl. You didn't have to continue to get new drugs and new supply. They had these girls they could continue to exploit day after day after day. And so for them, it was cheaper. And that was a really grotesque, I think, way to get introduced, I think, to this world for me, to kind of see the depravity in the ways that that these gangs were viewing young girls and women. That was really, I think, hard for me to when I first started doing this work. But that was something that became more and more prevalent, at least during my tenure when I was a prosecutor. And I don't know that is something that people fully appreciate, the various methods in which a number of gangs in the United States, at least, the ways in which they're conducting criminal activities.
Of course.
It's not just drugs, it's not just violence, like it is
Right.
Also human trafficking in a lot of circumstances.
100 million. And you know what? Let's take the gangs out for a minute. Let's go a step further back. There are millions of people who are cleaning people's houses, who are brought over here for jobs, and ain't no one getting paid. Okay. And there's scary statistics out there that the slave business is more flourishing now than it ever has been. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think in the history of mankind, there may have been one. No one has actually ever been prosecuted as a slave trader in the ever, apparently. Okay, we can Google it, but we can see. Do you think that the misconception is that they need to be looking out for these, disheveled young girls in the backs of cars, and people are missing out?
Two in particular bits that are going to note. What was it again? What was it? Oh, so the bit that he said originally. Sorry, the bit that who said it? I can't remember now. Regarding the how they try and break a woman's spirit. I think she was saying, in that case that she dealt with, how they try and break the woman's spirit. And the bit coming up, what was it? Sorry. So she talked about AI. It's quite an interesting bit in the moment. And she does get a little bit uneasy. She gets a bit uncomfortable when he's talking about vigilante, kind of like social media exposures of cases. And there's lots of technicalities as to why, and somebody within the law industry, they obviously have these insecurities regarding that, and also genuine concerns regarding cases being sabotaged and stuff like that, and technicalities, legal technicalities, lawful as well, because of it's a difficult one. It's a technicality regarding spoiling a case by information being put out. So it's one that that's a big point that needs to be addressed when it comes to at what stage that happens and why that happens, etc. And the other point was sorry, she's just about to cover it now. What was it? Oh, this I'll highlight it when it gets to it. So she gets uneasy about this social media. I think he went in with a camera on a ring to this this place, which was it was meant to be a child daycare place. You'll see it anyway. He explains it very clearly. It's ridiculous. Like, they actually had a sign. Now I'll just say it now, and then you'll see that on the sign. So, look out for the sign on the picture. And I'll just take this on face value. And I believe remember seeing it, the case come up. But I do trust his research on this one. That the sign was actually so there's no children at this place at all. It was a total money scam, and or some other, the same people doing it, nefarious actual children involved elsewhere. But there was no children at this location. And the sign outside that they were getting government funding for instead of it saying learning, it was a proper, high quality made full sign. And instead of saying learning, it said leering. They'd had a typo in it, and it the actual word leering is the actual word. Is leering an actual word? It sounds like it is, but not actually spelt like that. Could be a sick joke. Yeah, leering is primarily a misspelling of learning, which refers to the process of acquiring new knowledge. AI is so funny. Leering, present past pause of leer, align and grow, enlarge, nargile, realign. I've never heard this before. Okay, so leering does seem to maybe be, but it's in the Wiktionary. What's the Wiktionary? Leer. Law from the old English versions of law. Okay, it seems like a bit of an abstract word, leer, L-E-A-R. An old word, but learned, lesson in old Scottish, New Scotland. But anyways, so the misspelling on this this sign that says what's that one? An aeroplane. Comes through weird in StreamYard. So we've got the aeroplane and a beach now. Okay. We'll do the beach and the wave. We're not going to go by aeroplane. We're actually against aeroplanes in a general for certain reasons which we do not need to divulge with you currently, Lyndon. But we're going to go on a canoe, and we might even go on a big vegan cruise. Vegan cruise, or maybe a small yacht, maybe a private yacht. Trains and trams, and what are these ones called? Those hanging things. Forget what they're called now. They we need lots of regular safety checks on all these things. Rockets. Should we go on a rocket to the beach? Okay. Let's just hope some lightning strikes. Lyndon. Warden. Telford. Okay, so yeah, distracted me. So yeah, you'll see that there's a misspelling on this sign that says leering instead of learning. It's ridiculous, basically. Learning day center or something. Leering day center is absolutely ridiculous. Can everyone just take a moment to picture Lyndon just like heavy breathing? I do not want to get caught for these crimes. Send emojis or ambulances. Make out that I'm relaxed and I'm going to get an airplane on holiday. But Abe coached the children. Look, he coached the children, didn't he, Darren? Darren Williams, all the way through the video. There's no video. And it's like 15 seconds in a 2-hour video where he's telling the children to repeat what they had already told him. Remember that good bit? And then you left the panel, Darren. Remember that bit? Oh, you're going to listen. You've got to listen with the extra. Read all about the stereoscope, is it called? I vaguely remember that from a child. The listening one. I think you want to go more with some sort of if you really want to intimidate us, you want to get like army. Are there any army soldier emojis? I don't know why you don't use these ones more often. See, if you did that in my chat all the time, that would maybe scare me a bit. Or this one. If you did that, Lyndon, come and do that, and I'll be like, oh, is he saying I'm going to be dead? And shit. Hockey. Oh, shit. Pip's got the hockey stick out. What about it? What about it, the clown? That would scare me. Party. Okay. Okay, let's do party. Okay, let's have a feast. The aliens are coming to party. Anyway, you're trying to waste my time, aren't you, Lyndon, while flapping on your heroin or whatever it is you do. I feel for you, you desperate, scared old man. I wouldn't call anyone old, but, you know, old is... Yeah, old and young are very objective and subjective, and they're just words I'm throwing out there now for the sake of it, aren't I?
Now on all of these other individuals who are also in the trafficking world, but it's not necessarily the sex industry, it's labor.
Yes. So I've investigated a number of cases where there were allegations of forced labor. That in the United States would be the statute. And those, you can look at situations where, yes, the victims are coming forward, they're getting paid well below the minimum wage, working hours well beyond sort of a 9 to 5 of what you'd expect, just really abusive work conditions, in some circumstances really not being permitted to leave, whether if the person does not have legal status in the United States, where their documentation may be held, like a passport or visa may be withheld from their trafficker or abuser. Any number of ways in which they can use kind of this coercion or control to keep that person working indentured servitude, where they are told, we brought you to the United States, you need to then work your debt off and you need to continue to work for us. And those cases are hard to make because, first and foremost, it is hard to find those individuals who are willing, again, to not be so scared of law enforcement that they will actually sit down with prosecutors and with investigators and tell their stories. And those cases in particular with forced labor is where the non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, are so important. Any of those investigations I had is because an NGO brought a victim to the office and said, you really should, this is somebody who's willing to talk to you. And they had kind of before, because we're not the lawyer for the victim. We don't represent the victim. We represent the United States and the government. The victims always need their own lawyers, even though we do, we do look for vindicating victims' interests. We are not their lawyers. And so when they have good lawyers and good counselors and people who are looking out for them and kind of explaining how the system works and letting them know this is not legal and you can get recourse here. And there are ways, if you bring that case, for example, and you don't have legal status, that you can get a visa to be able to stay here. Things like that they can kind of give them the lay of the land and explain why it may make sense for them to come forward with their stories. Those cases are so important. They are difficult to make. Just again, getting the victims in the door, getting the corroboration of what happened, but they're really important.
Okay, final thing I want to talk to you about is social media, the modern world. Ever since lockdown, everyone's a podcaster, everyone's a journalist. Your iPhone is your broadcasting network. We recently seen the massive fraud case be exposed on YouTube. what's your take on what the regular person has brought to some cases through social media, information traveling faster, and of course, what is definitely not a tracking device set up by the government, okay, that we all pay a monthly fee for to keep in our pockets? Do you think it's a hindrance, or is it assisted in some way?
What fraud case from a social? I just want to make sure.
Hang on 1 second. Yeah, sorry, I forget you're from the legal world, and I talk out facts like it's just nonsense. 1 second. So I think it was Minnesota fraud case. Hang on.
So that case that's an interesting case. That case of fraud in Minnesota was brought by U.S. attorney in Minnesota, prosecutors there, and the prosecutor that brought that case, that investigated that case, that had that takedown, has now since resigned.
Obviously. Listen, there's nothing suspicious about that at all, Christy. Okay, you get accused of fraud, and then suddenly you quit your job and run away.
Oh no! This is the prosecutor who discovered the fraud and prosecuted.
Who discovered the fraud? Okay, I beg your pardon.
Yeah. So that prosecutor has resigned because that prosecutor refused, essentially, in connection with other events in Minnesota, to conduct an investigation of Renee Good, who died in Minnesota in a shooting by an ICE officer. He refused to investigate her widow, and at least there's public reporting from the New York Times that in Minnesota to conduct an investigation of Renee Good, who died in Minnesota in a shooting by an ICE officer. He refused to investigate her widow, and at least there's public reporting from the New York Times that led to his resignation and the resignation of 5 other prosecutors in that office. And that is a prosecutor who, again, unveiled and brought this case of a very significant fraud. And now the prosecutor who led that is no longer leading the charge there. So that is, that's very troubling. As to social media being able to uncover fraud, it's hard to say. I think that I think that there can be questionable methods sometimes when people try to take matters into their own hands. When you try to go, for example, to childcare facilities and demands to see the children, there are obviously safety concerns with that. I don't want childcare facilities, as a parent, to just let any stranger from the street go on and see children and see what's going on. So
you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry, because there was no children at the Quality Leering Center. Okay, when you have somebody taking billions of dollars from the American government, and it takes individuals reporting on it on social media to get anything moving. Okay, this case was stagnant until this blew up on social media, and I wouldn't want people walking into where my children are, but luckily there was no children here. The whole thing was a scam. And the fact that you have a Quality Learning Center misspell their own sign and no one noticed for so long, it's a scary concept. And it's one of the few cases where good has come from social media. And I think what you touched on there about the questionable ways that some people go about doing things, we've just seen the DoorDash girl, the supposed victim of this unconscious man in his own home. She's facing a pretty serious jail sentence. And if it wasn't for the Ring cam, that would have been very different. And it blew up in her face, really.
Yeah, with respect to the Minnesota fraud, I'm not sure I'm willing to give the credit to the YouTuber for breaking that case. I think those are,
I'm with you.
brought by career prosecutors and FBI agents. I don't know that he uncovered anything that I just
it just coincidentally got traction after he.
You see what I mean? I don't want to judge her or anything, but it just seems so cringe. Like it's like this is just classic. Just from my experience, the way that solicitors react to when their profession is being, or anyone in a position of authority when they've got and I mean there is elements of truth. I mean, there's definite truth to what she's saying, and like there's a basis in it to some extent, but like she's just trying to write off how things don't go through due process properly a lot of the time, and things have to go other ways around. And she didn't even make a big deal of that she was too defensive that she didn't even note the ridiculousness of this quality learning center. It's just the irony is just beyond absolutely ridiculous.
Put that out there. So in my opinion, if it wasn't him that got it kickstarted, why was there not this level of prosecutions and investigation prior to him revealing it? That's another thing that I would have an issue with, because
I hear you, but with that level of fraud, when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars of fraud, those fraud cases take months, if not years, to build.
Or just walk into the place.
You have to do. I mean,
you just go down there. You would just go down there, though, right? You would just go down to the Leering Center, and as the investigator, investigate, right?
That's certainly one aspect of it, and I don't know. My guess.
I mean, it would make sense.
They just didn't
it would make sense if I'm
brought it to a grand jury.
Sure, but again, if I'm in charge of prosecuting a case, it makes sense for me to go to the places that are being accused of the fraud and to witness it. So I imagine if they had done that and they'd put their findings out there, but I don't think a lawyer could go down and investigate and then put it out there publicly. So maybe that's why things are slower, and I shouldn't be so harsh on the lawyers, whereas a YouTuber can just be like, hey, evidence, I think, and put it out there, and the court of public opinion maybe fast track stuff. But you can't, for me, it's the data lines are social media expose, legal ramifications. It all lines up.
So I prosecuted a lot of healthcare fraud cases, and it was often the case that you would send undercover FBI agents to go see doctors who claimed to be performing services that they weren't performing, for example. That's one example. One case that I prosecuted was a big fraud case involving former NBA players, National Basketball Association players, where they were saying we were going to get dental work and we were going to see chiropractors, and they're submitting invoices for services that they never received. And a big part of that, an investigation like that can be sending in undercover agents to go check out these facilities, check out the doctors, check out what's going on. And again, but the key there is undercover, right? You're trying to.
I think the key there is. I think the key there is they're not investigating the U.S. government. They're investigating private healthcare facilities that are they're committing fraud, right? Whereas you would be directly investigating the U.S. government for allowing this level of funding to go unchecked for so long. And I think that's where I see a difference there, because why was no one sent in undercover to these places if it's common practice, if that makes sense? I guess my point to that is I just don't know, and it's possible that they did. Again, you take down an investigation like that, which the prosecutor in Minnesota did. My guess is that they can't air it until they bring it. There are certain rules around the grand jury where there's secrecy, and they 100%.
can't let you know until they've actually presented it, a grand jury's voted on it, and then they present their evidence at a trial. So when that trial in that case happens, I expect we will see a lot of that evidence of how it is that they built the case that we haven't seen thus far.
Do you know, You just saying that's made me realize something else. So technically, if you were smart, you could weaponize a YouTuber by leaking some information, have him do an investigation like this, put it out there, and then have the public disarray, have that public push to push a case forward. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but because you can't talk about it, you can't get the public riled up until the case is over. So it's the opposite of how a journalist would work. You got to keep it all secret, whereas they put it all out there. And
so if prosecutors and investigators did that and they shared information that was secret under like our rules, then you could face a lot of a lot of problems if you were to do that. And again, the biggest issue is your evidence could end up getting thrown out. It could be viewed as tainted in any number of ways. So there's a lot of reason why investigators and prosecutors are going to want to try and keep things secret until the public needs to know about it.
Let's not be silly here. I mean, you just write something down on a napkin and slide it over a table, and then the leak in the source is out there. I mean, we leading by the example of Trump. Even if the law says you've got to do something, you don't necessarily have to do what the law is telling you to do. I mean, that's the precedent that's being set here. So I imagine that could exist. But I mean, obviously, it would have to be super secretive, man. But it's an interesting concept to think if there are legal roadblocks that people come up against, weaponizing social media to stir up the public to push the case through. Is an interesting. I mean, I wouldn't want to get caught doing it. It's kind of like insider trading. Do you know what I mean? It's like it'd be on the same level as that.
So one thing that we've seen, there are rules in every district in the United States which tell the lawyers that are a part of any case, you can talk about what's public. So if there's a charging instrument, you can talk about that. If it's set in court, you can talk about it. But beyond that, you can't talk about your cases because you could be prejudicing the criminal defendant's right to a fair trial, right? You can't poison the jury against a case, right? You have to talk about what's publicly known, but no more than that. You got to keep everything else close to the vest. And if you violate that, the case can get thrown out. So when I see, for example, prosecutors that are affiliated with this Department of Justice making statements about various high-profile cases that are, one is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. In that case, the judge in the case said there's real concerns here about, prosecutors saying that this man is a human trafficker, that this man is a terrorist, that all of these things that are not necessarily what you've put in an indictment and charged him with, and you're poisoning the jury. And actually on Wednesday of this week, there's going to be a hearing about whether or not this was a vindictive prosecution, and therefore his indictment should get thrown out entirely. So that's the kind of worry in doing the kinds of things that you're suggesting of
I'm with you.
That's why you don't do it, because you could lose your entire case if you do it and you're caught doing it. So again, right now you've got prosecutors who are saying things about criminal defendants on social media. They're just putting it out there on X. And those kind of statements, now a judge is going to look at it and say, like, was that appropriate? Did you break the rules? Should the case still go forward? It's a real risk.
Okay, last little point. How do you think AI is going to affect the legal system moving forward? We've seen a lot of, police report writing camera suggestions, and I even think last year, the year before, there was people trying to represent themselves in court with ChatGPT as their lawyer and things like this. Like, do you feel, not next year, not 5 years from now, but in the same way as jobs are disappearing, right? Do you see a time where I'll go to the Apple law firm for a freaking AI generated legal representative? Do you think we're going to get to that point?
No, I do think that it is concerning. There have been cases where lawyers are using AI to help write their briefs. And in particular, in some of those cases where that's happened, AI is kind of making up cases that don't actually exist. And then people are figuring out that that's happening, and the judges are saying, should we sanction you, for not doing that? Even if you didn't know that these are fake cases, you should have known better. You're a lawyer, you have to do your own research, and you have to, even if you use ChatGPT or any other AI to kind of as a resource, maybe you have to verify the sources you're using, and that make sure that they're accurate and the citation is accurate. And so there are lawyers who've gotten in a lot of trouble already for their reliance on AI. And look, I'm not here to tell you all AI is bad. I think AI can be very useful.
That's definitely not. I'm not trying to push you for that. What you see in the background here, all these law books, right? This is the impression I have of a lawyer. I imagine you go into work, there's a lot of like mahogany bookshelves full of books, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of books, right? Is there a database where all of this is digitized for you as a lawyer? Or do you have to remember volume 7, paragraph 17 of the blah, 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 blah? Or is there a big database where you can go, hey, I think this rule or legislation applies to this typey, and it will bring it up for you?
Yeah, so there are databases, Lexis, Westlaw being the two main ones, at least in the United States, that we use, where everything, that's electronic. So, part of, having a show on YouTube where I talk about different cases, there's always some new area of law that I am, learning about. My background is in criminal law, but, I'm always looking to see what else is, what new relevant legal cases come up, and I'll often go to, to make sure that I'm up to date on any new cases, in particular, if they're districts outside of New York where the law may be different, going to those cases and making sure that I'm current and up to speed. I don't have lots of hard copy books. I generally tend to use those databases to get the cases, or even there are public court dockets that you can go to. So if you wanted to look for all of poll filings from the Maxwell case or the Epstein case, that's all public information you can just pull electronically. Anything that is unsealed and is public, you can just get that electronically. So that's what I tend to do. But certainly can't speak for everybody else.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is, do you feel that the possible future of AI within law and the legal world is focusing on you being assisted by AI, explaining a case, and its references for responses are through the pages of these legal books, of these databases? There is no fake cases that could be brought up. It's almost like using a calculator to solve a math question. It's saving the human reading and going through it all. And then obviously you cross-reference and you check stuff. Do you think there's a place for being assisted with the amount of work and gathering of data that must be required?
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see where it goes. I know there are a lot of people in the legal field who are looking at ways to use AI to better make the systems more efficient, but and as you said, really assist in what lawyers are doing. And I think where it can be useful potentially is in processing a lot of data, but in terms of actual legal conclusions, and I would never trust AI, for example, to read a case and tell me what it stands for.
Sure.
I would want to make sure to do that research on my own, or work with somebody who I trust who's doing that research to make sure that the case is still good law, it hasn't been overturned on that main point. Like, there's so many nuances to it that are these facts even comparable to what our fact pattern is here? Like, there's so much of it that I think does, and maybe this is just me selfishly hoping that our lawyers like me are not out of a job, but I do think that level of the analysis of it and the interpretation of it, and what does this case mean, and that piece of it just seems so human that I don't know that AI is going to replace it, but I certainly think AI can assist. I find ways in which AI is helpful is in particular with with styles of writing and finding ways, hey, I've written something, can you make this more, like make this a little tighter if I'm tending to be wordy, are there ways to kind of make this more digestible, and kind of giving those prompts and looking, and sometimes what you get doesn't really work, but other times you'll get something and it may have a good idea. And again, you can't just cut and paste, I think is the key. Whatever you're getting from AI, you really still need to use your own judgment as to, does this look right? Is this something that that makes sense to me? Are these facts verifiable facts? Really, facts still matter. Making sure your sources are verified, I think, still matters.
Yeah. And do you find that as time's progressing, you're adding additional uses for AI throughout your workload or research, or is it mainly just sort of stayed the same? It's like what you just said there. Or do you feel like you're adding on little extra things that because for me, I feel like it's a trust issue people have. And 30 years from now, where's that trust level going to be? Is it going to be, oh, well, we've had the first AI eye surgery, we trust the AI doctors now? I mean, that's just how our brains stupidly progress in this world. And I fall victim to it myself. I'm using AI for things now that I didn't use 6 months ago. And the human condition is fascinating once we let a trust barrier down and we let something in. You don't think about it too much when it's just you, but when you think about it from a global collective, it's going to be interesting to see just how much faith and how much trust is put in something. And again, it comes down to the alleged evil overlords that control the world that we all put our mistrust in, that make all of these things a bad idea. You know what I mean? But Christy, really, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us. It's an incredible insight into when we, the public, demand the pound of flesh, okay, and the lawyers have to go in, and if you can't get those dominoes to fall, your hands are tied. And I think it's interesting, because I think that's one thing I miss a lot with why the hell are the lawyers not getting X, Y, and Z in cases done. It's a complicated minefield of this and that. And I imagine in some cases, taking what you can get from the evidence you've got, right?
Yeah, look, I think you want lawyers to be, in particular, again, speaking to criminal law in particular, you want prosecutors to do things by the book. You don't want them to be cutting corners just to get a result, right? You want them to be doing things the right way. And if that means that you can't meet your burden, even if you think this is probably the person that's committed a crime, and but you don't have a solid case, then your answer needs to be to back away and to see if you can build a stronger case, see if you're missing something, but don't just jump the gun, to kind of work the process the way it should. That said, I mean, I think there are ways that we could be better about explaining certain things. Some things, again, are secret by nature of the rules that apply and can't be shared with the public. But a lot of times there are things that can be shared and are in the public interest to be shared. And so, I think it's a fine line, but not appearing too lawyerly and being, reason people say, like, you're making things more complicated than they need to be. This is why people hate lawyers. Like, why are you speaking in lawyer speak? Just speak plainly so I understand. There is something to that.
But I imagine the irony is, though, you're making it as simple as you possibly can, right? I mean, this is the simple version that we think is the drawn-out, complicated version, I would imagine, right? Because we just hear the court snippets. It's like the iceberg, right? The court is is the little bit of the investigation. There's the other 90% where you're, 12 black coffees deep into a weekend of research and not seen daylight and stuff like that. I mean, that must be the realities as well. And it's just, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. What's next for you? What have you got coming up? Your links are in the description, of course. Courtside on YouTube. What's coming up with you next? Tell us about it.
Well, you're showing it. So I'm really trying to grow my channel. It's still relatively new, so I am still working on that, and hopefully I will have the success that you've had with your over 1 million subscribers. I'm not anywhere close to where you are, but seeing people who have
be here if they were not farmers. We have, you know what I mean? They would not exist.
Yes.
They would not be here.
But no animal that doesn't exist wants to exist. You understand?
Yeah, but some animals have a good life while they live on a good farm where they're looked after properly while they live. So they have a lifetime that is reasonable, and then they are humanely killed.
What is humanely killed? Is it respect to kill?
Well, is it respect not to have them at all? I'm not sure.
I just said it. No animal that doesn't exist wants to live.
Well, I think...
You understand that sentence?
Yeah, but I think
see,
actually,
so there's no one hurting when they are not born into existence.
Well, I don't know whether it matters whether they have a short existence or no existence or a long existence, as long as they are treated well.
But who are you to judge that?
Because
It is about the victim here and not about the oppressor.
Some animals would not be here if they were not farmers. We have, you know what I mean? They would not exist.
Yes.
They would not be here.
But no animal that doesn't exist wants to exist. You understand?
Yeah, but some animals have a good life while they live on a good farm where they're looked after properly while they live. So they have a lifetime that is reasonable, and then they are humanely killed.
What is humanely killed? Is it respect to kill?
Well, is it respect not to have them at all? I'm not sure.
I just said it. No animal that doesn't exist wants to live.
Well, I think...
You understand that sentence?
Yeah, but I think
see,
actually,
so there's no one hurting when they are not born into existence.
Well, I don't know whether it matters whether they have a short existence or no existence or a long existence, as long as they are treated well.
But who are you to judge that?
Because
It is about the victim here and not about the oppressor.
Some animals would not be here if they were not farmed.
Different level. Plants and mushrooms, by the way, are a whole different level than animals, because we ourselves are also animals, right?
Yeah.
So the first step, obviously, is to find another solution. And let's be honest, we can't eat rocks. So this is the only option we have.
When I was looking at the animals, I was feeling like those are beings.
Yeah.
Like they have feelings. They
they
have
are.
some life.
Yeah.
So as the trees as well. So
Yeah, but you don't ever, if you walk over a patch of grass, you don't look on the floor and think, oh, I'm sorry for stepping on you, right? It would be different if you walk over a bunch of cows and chickens and humans, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So the thing is, what I want to communicate is the need of these animals would be to live, that humans live vegan from now on. I ask you, what do you feel is stopping you? We discussed that there's always options to become vegan. You can do your research. We have Google, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So when would be the best moment for you to start actually living vegan?
This is a true moment. I mean, why should we wait to do such a thing where we can just bring some harmony within our society? I mean, those are a part of a society as well.
Yeah. So you're vegan now?
Yeah. Plants. Yeah.
So when would be the best moment for you to start actually living vegan?
This is a true moment. I mean, why should we wait to do such a thing where we can just bring some harmony within our society? I mean, those are a part of a society as well.
Yeah. So you're vegan now?
Yeah. Plants have also feelings.
Thank you for tuning in. I am delighted to have Julian Dory with us. All of his links are in the description box. He's been doing really important work on Epstein, as well as all kinds of other stuff, UFO cover-ups, ancient civilizations, a lot of content that really dovetails with what we're doing on his channel. I'm subscribed to him. He's got 3 different channels. I'm subscribed to all of them, I think. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
I know this is obviously we have some discontentment and some definite questions and what's the word? Disappointment with Sean. It's just it's got a coincidence with this fella being from Australia and the Australia connection tomorrow being Australia Day, the obviously disputed Australia Day, and the number that I sent you on the email. This was the one that was 14 off of 104,400. So and it just had loads. I only listened to 15 minutes so far, but it just had loads of just very. It just shows that a consciousness that's raising in a general sense, which is just, I'd say, fully raised enough now to. The fear is gone. The trickery of how, the fact that it doesn't matter if we die. We're here to save children, to make children, to do everything we can, to risk ourselves, to protect children, to protect the innocent, to protect the vulnerable, to protect victims. So, but also the fact that actually the fears are largely superficial or false. They're false realities of the psychological. I mean, just Lyndon's a perfect example, coming along with medical emojis. That's just like the last clutching, flapping attempts at their psychological mutilation. Look at these red and black and white symbols that he's used as profile picture. Stop, hoax. Just throw words out there. Just words. Deception. Police, using the word police in his name. Do you know what I mean? And obviously the red and the black and the white is just very very warning like, and just pure MK Ultra. They're just pure. It's very sad that all this has happened, but it's unraveling now and being dealt with, which is wonderful for everybody.
And I've pulled up a clip because we're going to be talking about Epstein and Freemasons. And I've pulled up a clip that I'd just like to show the viewers, with your permission, from your channel that I watched recently that absolutely fascinated me because, the government's told us Epstein is a lone wolf. He's just a pervert sat in his house, not influencing politics in the slightest.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh,
I know
boy.
this clip.
Oh boy!
Shout out Mark Gagnon.
Absolutely, this will blow your mind, viewers. Watch this.
She's representing the Virgin Islands, where Epstein had a little island down there, so it makes sense. But she's from New York City, which is interesting. I don't really understand that right there. But while she's like about to go up, she's texting Jeffrey Epstein, "Hey, I'm coming up right now. I need this information." And then literally, it was like the assistant or something. And then literally, her first question involves like the assistant that he texted the name. Let's play it.
Delegate Stacey Plaskett while she was sitting in a congressional hearing with President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, in 2019.
Did they reach out to you to talk with you about these payments?
No, ma'am.
And documents recently released by the House Oversight Committee now show that Plaskett, a delegate of the Virgin Islands, and Epstein, a resident of the Virgin Islands, were coordinating in real time Plaskett's questioning of Trump's former fixer during the hearing. At 2:24 p.m., Epstein texts, "Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets." Plaskett responds, "Rona? Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym?" Epstein replies, "That's his assistant." About 7 minutes later, Plaskett asked Cohen about Trump's assistant.
Is Miss Rona, what is Miss Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot that went on.
Though her name was redacted in the documents, the Washington Post first reported that the timestamps line up with Plaskett's questioning in the hearing. Plaskett, who was a non-voting delegate, faced a vote to censure her after the text came to light, but it ultimately failed. Plaskett has defended her text with Epstein, saying that she took text and calls from many of her constituents.
Oh,
I've been a prosecutor for many years.
I mean, that's like a good bullshit job, I will say. Like, not.
Wow.
That's one of those that it's like, you know, and by the way, I guess a shout out to the Washington Post, who was doing like the real-time timestamp checks with the Epstein files and then reviewing the videos. They caught that stuff, but is that not unbelievable?
That is totally insane. What got you into this story in the first place, Julian? Let's go back a little bit.
With Epstein?
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading, I believe it was a Politico article I want to say it was like the months leading up to when he actually got arrested at Teterboro over here. And it was weird because it almost, I looked at him like, okay, all right, guy's a pervert and he's rich and he's doing some weird shit. But I didn't really think about it again because I was just like, you know, par for the course. You see some idiot elite who's just doing some crazy shit. I did not understand the scope at all of what he was doing. And then he gets arrested. And it was interesting because I believe he was in France at his place in the week or 2 weeks leading up to his arrest, going to his regular spots and everything by all accounts of the people in Paris who saw him. And I also think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Sean, but I think France is one of those countries where the extradition is a little difficult to get them back from there. But he decided to fly home to Teterboro, which says he did not see it coming. He was getting arrested, in my opinion. And he gets arrested, and
Men, they have it easy. Yeah, they have a little bit of a midlife crisis, don't they? And once they get over that, well, they're over it. They forget it. We're punished from the minute we start our periods. That's it. It starts then. It doesn't fucking end. You know, because I'm gonna have a baby, and God, you know, God forbid, you have a baby, and then they're not, you know, the laws say that we can't be left alone after that. Neither. You can end up with postnatal depression, all kinds of stuff. Was anything ever made for a woman so that it runs smoothly? I'm beginning to think it don't. It doesn't. Who's that?
It's
Hello?
me. It's me.
Oh no. Yeah,
I'm so glad. I'm glad you're doing a normal stream.
I'm so tired of the crap. I'm so tired of the crap, Jukes. I really am.
It's just regurgitating, isn't it? Going round and round and round and round and round. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get rid of your stalker?
Oh, yes. Yes, I got rid of whoever it was, because I'm not quite sure even now who it was, Dupes, to be honest, love. It could have been, well, like you pointed out, because I didn't realise it could have been anybody. Couldn't it really?
Yeah, who's been listening to you.
Yeah. I didn't realise that till you pointed that out to me. And once it got pointed out, I thought, just block on everything. So, yeah, got rid of it. Very strange behaviour. Really weird.
Yeah. Well, I've got an idea what I've got an idea what I think it might be, but I'll talk to you in private on that one. Yeah, go on, Ben. Anyway,
the menopause. Don't you agree that it's an absolute pig? It's awful.
Yeah, I did suffer for a little while because I was having I got the.
Are you there, Mrs. Anav? Miss Anav. Mrs. Clark with an E. Miss Anav Clarky. Are you there, Kaylee, my darling? I'm going to maybe continue with that other stream of Sean some other time, but there's maybe no need. I'm not fair. What's his name? But yeah, I'm going to go around and record these two. Although it seems like it's going to be a very, very tragic, fake little friendly one. Oh, cool. Hello. Yeah, I don't know if you saw. It's been a bit quiet this evening. If the numbers are telling the truth on here, interesting. Yeah, that was live. Shall I show you where she turned the sound back on? She's just so insecure and so. Look, she had. This is silent still, and she's still got herself on the screen.
Don't know. I really don't know what happened there, to be quite honest. So what I want to, because I find these kinds of things fascinating, right? I don't know if I'll get away with playing this, but I'm going to try.
So there's no sound for, what was it, an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 20 something minutes. And then she literally just came back on, and she just no sort of like humility, no humor to actually what happened. That she's just so insecure and so fake. It's unreal.
No, right. Sorry about that. Hopefully, I don't know, but I want to move on from that to something else that interests me as well. So, don't know. I really don't know what happened there, to be quite honest. So, what I want to.
Oh, she did elaborate a little bit more than I first thought, but yeah, I don't know. It's all just so fake and tragic, isn't it? Oh my god, this I mean, Darren, what is it? Do you want to come on for 5 minutes, Darren? Let it out your system. Just threaten me. Do you fancy coming on to threaten me just for a little bit? I don't know how you're feeling, man. You're just you're really insecure, aren't you? Like. I just don't know what to make of you, man. Do you want to just pop on for 5 minutes and just call me some names for a little bit, and then yeah, it's just Wendy is just like there's no remorse, just no willingness. I mean, either she has been involved, but I mean the way that it seems to me that they're all just older versions of Becca, and even Becca, there's still questions around her potentially involvement and playing a role. Babs is high up. The suspicion of how Babs is high up, but she still seems very possible that she's just been totally just like under a spell, under an absolute spell with it. I mean, Luke's still going along with this, and he doesn't seem like he's directly involved in any actual like gangs or cults or anything as such. But then again, he could well be, and just literally that there could either there's multiple personality disorder, which is definitely going to be aspects of that, or they're just I don't know what I was going to say there. I forgot. Wow. Oh, I showed yours by accident. I was going to share Daz's. Yeah, that's what I was going to share it. It's just the lack of insight and self-awareness. I mean, it's just incredible that they can so like. I mean, John Williams, what a character. I mean, he really is quite the typer, eh? How can he formulate such and the consistency is just profound. I mean, well, consistency with big raised consistency in a obsession, I'd say. I'd call it the obsession. It's inconsistent mostly in regards to coherence, but it's also very formulated, and it is very what's the word, when something's very formulated. Slapping the flapping. What the fuck? Oh dear. Did you see the link, Adam? Did you have you been put off by Kaylee playing you and Darren back so much recently? You realise that that's a fail. So you're just desperate and you're just stuck with this now. You're just stuck with a keyboard, lads. So the mic and the keyboard, because the angels are protecting us from your firearms. See, I've got no reason to believe you couldn't get my address, or you haven't got my address easy enough off your corrupt police. That you've got all my medical records off your corrupt Freemason people in the system somewhere and stuff. But the angels also, at the same time, they protect these things, and they protect things to whatever level they need to be protected a lot of the time. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's insane. I'm putting off recording these because it's going to be so boring. It's just going to be so boring. They're already talking about that HTS menopause thing. Menopause is the Saros. What's it called? The what's that? That's the solar eclipse cycle. What's the planet called? Crimer. Oh, what's it called? There's an asteroid which is like a planet asteroid in astrology, and it comes back round every 50 years from your birth. The Saturn cycle is a renowned 27 to 28 year cycle, or 29 maybe, and it comes back, and you face things from your birth around 27, 28, 29 maybe, and the Chiron, that's it, Chiron, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's 50 years, and it's about like re-evaluating your life. So the menopause is actually the body trying to tell somebody, like apparently women might have like a big, like, I mean, bravery might install that they want to, they ended up in a job that they didn't actually want to be in just through what's the word, going along with the system. What's the word? Not conforming. That's it. Conforming with the system. And the menopause, apparently, it relates to this Chiron cycle, where if you're not aligned with your life's purpose, then around 50, your body will be like forcing you to, and also obviously dietary stuff and stuff like that as well. And it will be forcing you to look at your purpose, look at your ethical stance and morals and stuff like this. So it's very profound that Vicky West is the one that keeps talking about it. She's the only one chatting for like 100 comments now. Baz and Phil Lavana chatting in there. Oh, and there was some whirly curly. But she was just chatting for ages, just her with John Williams is in there. Evening, Wendy in chat. Hi, Baz. Yes, Wendy, it's just for entertainment. I watched the first one. That was enough for me, Baz. What's he writing about? So it's to the SAS, some TV program or something, maybe. Yeah, some TV program bullshit. Danny West writes, Baz, there are some great documentaries on the SAS on YouTube. Hi Donna, good to see you too. Politics must get boring for you ladies every day, he writes. Loads of creepy, obsessed, stalking people on YouTube. This is Danny West. Loads of creepy, obsessed, stalking people on YouTube. Oh dear, let's see if we can zoom in on that just for the record. Oh, where's it gone? Look at that. Loads of creepy, obsessed, stalking people on YouTube. Oh, it's just so classic. I'll screenshot that while it's there. Oh dear. So yeah, it's just going to be so boring.
I'll get on with
it.
But I can't. I was saying earlier, I don't know about your mum because your mum's still alive, isn't she? So I can't remember my mother ever showing any signs of going through the menopause. She would have done,
you know.
So, oh yeah, I remember those bloody blackouts. 3-4 hours wasn't unusual.
And I've never discussed this with my mum and dad. The woman that my mum was really friendly with, and I knew this because she stayed friendly with her over the years as well. Her husband and that used to own a big nightclub. And they used to have strippers. Listen to this. They used to have strippers that they employed. I never ever see them naked, right? Yeah. All these women that they had and knew, I always saw fully clothed. I knew them by name and stuff. But they were this woman's staff. And it wasn't until years later that I realised a lot of these people that my mum used to gossip with and a friend used to gossip with were actually the strippers from the strip club. From the
bloody hell.
Do you know what I mean? Which is all the time, you know. My sister says, "Oh, she could have made us better
dupes, right?" And what they do is they.
Well, I'm gonna have to just go record it for the record, even though it's going to be one of those ones. Oh dear. Okay. Oh, I'm just too fascinated reading all your comments. Yeah. So, do you want me to tell you my thoughts on that? I think Kaylee is very brave woman for facing what was happening at the time and persevering and figuring it out, making sense of it, and daring, very daring. Thanks so much, daring. Yeah. So you're just so desperate. I've not read all of that. I'll just end the stream and just record the comments anyway. So again, Kaylee figured it out. She figured it. She took the time. She persevered with your deceptions and your MK Ultra 666, thinking you're big and clever and nasty and controlling and the powerful ones and all this crap. And it's just abuse. It's just abuse of power. You may have had power, whatever that means, in this temporary time and space. Yeah, we'll just leave it on that note. You know you're desperate. It's just no it's just what it is, isn't it? Well, Jake's sexting with smelly goat. Smelly goat. Oh dear. This is just too much. Due to the ego. Oh, not brave, it's metal. Oh dear. We're not brave. We are mental. Thankfully, we have mental health. Mental health. Oh dear. It wasn't another man's underwear, you sick fuck. And if it wasn't what you were making it out to be, you are just so vile and so abusive. And it's just, I'm just so grateful to be able to do this job and help you stop fucking doing this to your own souls. The shit you are doing to your own souls. The fucking torment you are bringing to your souls. That's what I thought. They were brand new. Exactly. I just didn't want to say 100% because I wasn't sure that was. But I'm sure they. I just knew that would be the case. I remember when it happened. I remember that's when I started. Like, it scared me way more than it scared Kaylee, and I was like, I wasn't allowed to come on and like interact with you lot on here, so I was like, thank fuck. I don't want to go anywhere near these fucking crazy cunts. They're fucking insane. They got all these like crazy northern and like Cornwall accents and stuff, and they hunt Satanists and scammers. These people, they hunt Satanists and scammers, and I'm a Satanist apparently, and a scammer. So they're going to be fucking after me. And I was only sectioned once, actually, Banania. It's so deep that you call yourself Banania, and this is what's going to be exposed: is the sickness of the mockery that these children describe hidden entrances to secret rooms hidden in wardrobes. Wow. Really not doing yourselves any favors, people. Obviously, we know that by now. But I'm going to crack on. 2222. I love you all to whatever extent that subjectively is. See ya.